Hi, my name is Lawrence Byrne, and we're having a little conversation over these few weeks together in the month of November, looking at what does it take to keep things fresh for ourselves and for our families. And last week we talked about keeping yourself fresh, both intellectually and as an individual engaged in your community, and then spiritually. And this week we want to talk about what it means to keep your house and your household fresh. I'm going to look at two dimensions of what that means. I don't know what it's like in your family, but I can remember when our kids were young, children have a way of proving the law of entropy. What that means is, entropy is just a fancy word for saying that things go from order to chaos, that they degenerate, and children definitely do that. They have a gift for proving that law is true. And I don't know what it's like, as I say, in your homes, but in our home, it was hard at times to keep the laundry washed and the dishes clean and the rooms tidy and the toys picked up and the beds made, and it can feel overwhelming if you're staying at home trying to manage all these things. So my wife ran into a resource, and it's found at flylady.net. That website will be down in the comments. That really revolutionized our family. This lady tells a story of really struggling with just a feeling of being overwhelmed with all the things that she had to do around the house, and just the struggle to keep the house clean. And so what she did was, she actually, the simple changes that she made was, every morning she would get up and make her bed, and then she would get dressed nicely. And then the first thing she did was to make sure that her sink was shining. So the first place that she conquered in the house was the sink, that she did all the dishes, made sure that they were washed, cleaned, and put away. And then from there, she divided her house into zones. Zones 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And 5 zones took care of the whole house. And she has a whole routine and a little plan on this website that explains how you then break down into short periods of time where you put intense energy into each of those zones over the course of the week. And that way she was able to take her house, which was basically in chaos, and create order and beauty in the home. And of course, in Adventism, we have a great tradition that Friday is preparation day, and of course that can be quite stressful. And so maybe breaking it down into days with different zones in the house, like Fly Lady suggests, could actually lift the burden of Sabbath preparation as well. Another dimension of this is doing the kind of deep cleaning once in a while, and doing that together as a family. So teaching your children to help clean different places in the house. And then one other dimension that my wife and I have been enjoying recently is taking on little projects around the house to fix things and improve things that maybe have broken or run down. And in that way, we're keeping our house fresh. Now, why is that important? Well, at 2 levels. One, it's nice to live in a tidy house and a clean, fresh space. But it's also important when it comes to teaching our children that especially when our children are younger, they're taught by what we do more than what we say. And so being deliberate about teaching them that. There's one more dimension, and that is keeping your relationships fresh. And I want to give you a resource here. It's something that I teach all of the missionaries where I work at Adventist Frontier Missions. It's a resource called Difficult Conversations. And there's going to be a summary for the book. There's a book called Difficult Conversations that you can watch that will give you some very simple and practical pointers on how to take the trash out on a regular basis in your relationships. You know what it's like when things happen between you and your spouse, and you don't have time to kind of process them, or don't have ways to process them in helpful, productive structures or ways. And so Difficult Conversations gives you a framework for being able to process difficult conversations with your spouse. And I suggest that if you can keep your house clean and keep your relationships clean, you'll be creating a space where your home is fresh for your children. And I don't have time to unpack all of that, but I'm going to direct you to that resource and invite you to watch that, and then discuss with your spouse how you could apply the principles of difficult conversations. The fundamental idea is that instead of a confrontation, you actually switch into what is called a learning conversation, where you listen to the other person's perspective, they listen to yours, both of you look at your contribution, and then you decide on how you can work together in the future, so that you can avoid creating the same kind of stress or challenge in the relationship. There's a great 13-minute summary for the book there. I want to invite you to watch that and join us in working to keep not only ourselves fresh, but our families and our homes fresh.